That's the car wash right there. You know what I'm talking about? The car wash with Baby Lane. That he got right there.
He was in the white Cadillac that night in Las Vegas, that he got out and fired the shots.
From 1995 to date, have you ever ridden in a white Cadillac?
No.
Was it DeAndre? Was it Keefe D? Was it a white Cadillac?
I didn't see any white Cadillac, and nor do I know who was in the car with.
After the fight, Tupac, along with Suge Knight, Trayvon Lane, and other people that were with that group, ran into a person named Orlando Anderson. And Orlando Anderson is the defendant's nephew. And when they encountered Orlando Anderson sitting by himself, they attacked him. And that attack was captured on video.
They mentioned the name Zip. Eric Zip was friends with Sean Combs, Diddy, P. Diddy, whatever you want to call him, Mr. Freak off jail right now. So these two were friends. Now, allegedly, this is what happened. This is the rumorville of what happened, okay? Now, I told you about the backstory of the fight at Lakewood Mall, the fight at MGM, and allegedly this is what led up to it. But before all that, Eric Zip allegedly had a conversation with Sean Combs. Sean Combs said, hey, I got to get rid of these people. I got to get rid of Pac. And the offer was he would cut a check. The Tupac trial started today. Today was opening arguments. I'm going to give you a little bit of inside information that you might not know about. I'm going to tell you about the time I even met Orlando Anderson. And if you don't know who that is, you are going to know by the end of this video. And not only that, there was always rumors circulating that it was a higher person involved that was ahead of a record label. So we're going to discuss that too to see, was he involved or was he not involved in the Tupac situation? Fugitive TV, stay tuned. Welcome to Fugitive TV. I am your host, Ray Marcel. And what we do here is we take cases, anything of missing people, true crime, any kind of cases that need a deeper look or a different perspective. Now, see, I can give you a different perspective and even a deeper look because I was once a fugitive on the run from the law myself. I ran for 15 years, lived in different countries, under different names, eventually turned myself in. Now I have this YouTube channel and I work on true crime. I help people locate missing loved ones and also help them locate fugitives that have done something horrific to a loved one because I know what it takes to vanish. Well, we're going to talk about the Tupac trial today. My very first video actually on YouTube, my very first viral video, I should say, was on the Tupac situation. What was about a year and a half ago, my very first video. I think I got 30 or 40,000 views on that video. But it was about the Tupac situation, what led up to it, what possibly happened to him, who was involved, and, you know, everything like that. Now, in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to do a quick recap of the trial. It was day one of the trial. But before we do the quick recap, just in case you don't know the background of Tupac or who he is, I'm going to break it down for you real quick. And not only break it down, I'm going to give you a little bit of information that the media does not give you when it comes to what led up to the whole situation in the first place. Now, Tupac was a rapper that tragically died, lost his life in 1996 in Las Vegas, Nevada, right after a Mike Tyson fight. He actually lost his life right on Flamingo, right in the middle of the strip, or actually on the street pretty much, all right? And the backstory about how all this happened. Now in the media, what the big media is probably going to tell you is that he got into a little scuffle with Orlando Anderson, and then Orlando Anderson was in a car full of people, one of them including Keefe D. He is actually the one on trial right now. So we're going to break down to you why he's on trial and what happened, what caused him to get on trial, okay? But before we get to that, let me give you the background real quick.
Records co-founder Marion Suge Knight is circled. Rap star Tupac Shakur is nearby. Prosecutors say Knight is seen kicking Orlando Anderson, and that act is the alleged probation violation. The video is evidence in Knight's probation revocation hearing, proof the DA's office says Knight took part in the beating of Anderson last September.
So Tupac at the time was signed to Death Row Records. Death Row Records was run by Suge Knight. Now, Suge Knight was a member of Mob Piru. Now, Mob Piru is a gang that's in Los Angeles that is right in Compton, or right outside. It's like East Compton area. Now, I grew up in Los Angeles, California, born and raised out there, okay? Don't live there anymore. I live in Florida now, but I was born and raised out there. So I know a lot about the sections of LA, from Compton to Watts down to Long Beach, because hey, it was my stomping grounds, is where I grew up. So Suge Knight was affiliated with Mob Piru. Now, since he signed Tupac, once Tupac got out of prison for his previous charges, that's a whole nother video, but he got Tupac out of prison for his previous charges. Now, at this time, Tupac, Suge Knight, all of Death Row, they were actually beefing with Bad Boy Records. Now, this is how you had the whole East Coast, West Coast beef going on in the mid to late 90s, all right? So they were beefing with Sean Combs and Biggie with Bad Boy Records. Now, Tupac and Biggie, Notorious B.I.G. were actually friends at one point, okay? They were actually friends. But then things happened, got in the way, which we could talk about that in another later video, because it's a big story, all right? We're just kind of doing a synopsis of what happened, all right? With a little bit of inside information that you might not know about. Well, they were friends at one point. They stopped being friends, got into beef with each other, and then started having this beef. And then it trickled onto all of Death Row and then all of Bad Boy Records. Now, Sean Combs, who was the CEO of Bad Boy at that time, I don't know if he's a CEO still. I don't even know if Bad Boy exists still. Let me know if Bad Boy exists, because we all know what's going on with Puff Daddy, aka Sean Combs, aka Diddy. We all know what's going on with him. He's in prison right now. So I don't know exactly what's going on with the whole record label. But at that time, Sean Combs, what he did allegedly was he hired a bunch of Crips from California, which is Southside Compton Crips, okay? Now, Southside Compton Crips are from Compton too. Both of them are kind of Mob Piru and Southside are both from the East Compton area, actually just a few blocks away from each other. So Puffy, or P. Diddy, Sean Combs, whatever you want to call him, hired Southside Compton Crips as protection whenever Bad Boy or, you know, they would be out on the West Coast. Now, what the media or even the trial kind of tells you, I noticed that today, they didn't get really into the full background, but even during the trial today, they start discussing the fight at MGM.
After the fight, Tupac, along with Suge Knight, Trayvon Lane, and other people that were with that group, ran into a person named Orlando Anderson. And Orlando Anderson is the defendant's nephew. And when they encountered Orlando Anderson sitting by himself, they attacked him. And that attack was captured on video.
Grand, which is where the Mike Tyson fight happened and where all hell broke loose, okay? Before the fight at the casino in Las Vegas, Nevada, there was an actual incident that took place in July of 1996. Now, this incident took place at a Lakewood Mall inside of a Foot Locker. Now, inside of the Foot Locker, Orlando Anderson, street name Babyface Lane or Baby Lane, was with his group, Southside Crips, and they confronted a Death Row affiliate, and his name was Trayvon Trey Lane. And what they tried to do was snatch his chain. So remember, there's a beef going on between Death Row Records and Bad Boy. So Orlando Anderson is with the Southside Crips, who the Southside Crips is affiliated with Bad Boy. All right. And they're beefing with Death Row and Mob Piru. So they run into each other at the mall. Babyface gets into it, Baby Lane, and then tries to snatch the Death Row chain from the other guy, who was Trey. Scuffle breaks out. So that is pretty much how, like, just a quick thing of what led up to the Las Vegas interaction. Now, a few months later, in Vegas, Mike Tyson fight, September 7th, 1996. They were at a hotel casino in Vegas, and what happened was right after the fight, they spotted Orlando Anderson, okay, walking through the casino. Now, Tupac sticking up for his boy, who was Trey, the one who got the chain snatched, or they tried to snatch the chain. Tupac saw Orlando. And then that's when I guess they approached him, and then all hell broke loose. It was a brawl. Orlando was pretty much by himself. People from Death Row Records jumped him, okay? It all was breaking up and everything else. Tupac, Suge Knight, everybody left the scene, got into their cars, and started taking off. Well, they were leaving to go to a club, which was 662 in Las Vegas at the time. On the way to the club, a white Cadillac pulls up next to him. Now, 4 individuals were allegedly in this Cadillac. A person, one guy pulls out a weapon, shoots the Suge Knight's and Tupac's car up. They were in a BMW. Suge Knight was the one driving, Tupac's in the passenger seat. Tupac pretty much takes all the bullets, and this is how he ends up passing away.
So we was all standing here talking, they finna go over there to the club. And we rode over there.
Club 662?
Yeah, to wait on them and confront them, make his response. We got over there and waited around for about an hour. Nobody showed up. So I said, man, look, man, we in Vegas, it's fight weekend. I'm finna go get some bottles and go back to the hotel. There was too many girls at the hotel.
So the 4 individuals who allegedly were in this car, which is a white Cadillac, you have Keefe D. Now, he's the one currently on trial right now. The reason why he's on trial, where I told you, we're going to get into that, okay? And you can let me know what you think about this. But he's the one currently on trial. Remember, I told you 4. The other 3 members are no longer here. They've died. They've passed away. Now, Keefe D, whose last name is Davis, was in the passenger seat of the car. Then you had Orlando Baby Lane Anderson, Keefe D's nephew. Okay, so Keefe D and Orlando Anderson, aka Baby Lane, are related, uncle and nephew. Now, Keefe D's nephew, long accused by authorities of being involved in a physical altercation earlier that night at MGM Grand. Now, he ended up dying. We're going to get into that because I ended up meeting him right before he died. But another person who was in the car was DeAndre Freaky Smith. Seated in the back seat, grand jury testimony and witnesses have alternately pointed to Smith or Anderson as the actually shooter. But the problem is, DeAndre Freaky Smith is no longer with us. He's passed away. So it was always been a toss-up. Is it Orlando that was the shooter, or was it DeAndre? All right. The next person was Terrence Bubble Up Brown, identified by investigators as the driver of the white Cadillac. He is also no longer living. He is deceased. So the only person here alive, okay, is Keefe D. That was in that vehicle. That's it. All right. And we all know another vehicle, Tupac, is gone. And you have Suge Knight, Suge Knight's actually in prison.
He was in the white Cadillac that night in Las Vegas, that he got out and fired the shots.
From 1995 to date, have you ever ridden in a white Cadillac?
No.
Do you know anyone who owns a white Cadillac?
No.
Anderson, an alleged Los Angeles gang member, has vigorously denied any involvement in and in depositions claimed he was not at the scene. The estate.
Now, Orlando Anderson, okay, Baby Lane. Baby Lane was a notorious name, all right, all through the Compton area. He was really somebody that a lot of people feared. I would not say respected, but they feared because he was known to be a shooter. He was known to crash out. He was known to just take things to the next level. There was actually cases that have not been verified of him having more bodies besides Tupac, if he is the one that did it, because like I said, to this day, there's still a toss-up if it's Orlando Anderson or DeAndre, who was in the back seat that actually fired the gun. Now, Keefe D is allegedly the one who handed them the gun in the back seat. This is why Keefe D is actually on trial. One of the reasons, like I said, we're going to get into that because there's a very important reason why they decided after all this time since 1996, why Keefe D is on trial now. Well, Orlando Anderson ended up passing away in 1998 at a car wash. All right. He stopped at a car wash. Now, allegedly it was a drug deal, or some people owed him money. He owed somebody else money. This part of the story, I keep hearing kind of a back and forth situation what goes on in this, but he ended up getting a shootout and he passed away.
Then a year after rapper Tupac Shakur was
In Las Vegas, police have still not charged anyone. They say they have no suspects, but members of Shakur's family insist they know who's responsible. And Diana Olick reports they're taking him to court themselves.
If police can't do it, the family of Tupac Shakur says they will bring the man they believe is his murderer to justice. A year and a half after the shooting that killed Shakur, his mother and estate are suing Orlando Anderson in civil court. They claim there is evidence he was in the white Cadillac that night in Las Vegas, that he got out and fired the shots.
From 1995 to date, have you ever ridden in a white Cadillac?
No.
Do you know anyone who owns a white Cadillac?
No.
Anderson, an alleged Los Angeles gang member, has vigorously denied any involvement in the murder and in depositions claimed he was not at the scene. The estate says the shooting was in retaliation for a fight in which Anderson was beaten by Shakur and others.
One of the reasons the estate is bringing the case is because no police are involved in seriously looking into the case.
Now here is the car wash where Orlando Anderson actually passed away. This is actually a Google Maps from 2007. This car wash is no longer here. So yeah, this was the same car wash where Orlando Anderson unfortunately lost his life. Now you see it switched to 2018. Now the car wash is closed. Let's go back. And then it should switch back to, see if I can change these dates here. Now this is what it looks like now. Car wash is no longer there. But that's what it used to look like before. And that was where Orlando Anderson lost his life, at this car wash. As you see, it was open for a long time.
That's the car wash right there. Him and Paru, they got into a shootout right up there, you know what I'm saying? Till they each other, you know what I mean? That's an OG car wash, been here for years as well. This is the laundry right here. The cage is right here to the right. We're finna go to the hill right after this.
Okay, what about does everybody know that this dude, what's his name, Baby? What Lane?
Baby Lane, yeah, that's the dude. So, you know, I don't know if he really, but that's who supposedly Tupac, you did what I'm talking about? And that's where he was at in his Navy, you know what I'm saying? Getting his car washed and he got into a shootout up here, you know what I'm saying? That's where he died at.
Now, he passed away May 29th, 1998, all right? He passed away at Martin Luther King Jr. Community Hospital in nearby Willowbrook, California, where he was pronounced dead at the age of 23 years old. Now, that car wash was located off of Alondra Boulevard. Now, I used to go to Bellflower a lot, all right? I had family in Bellflower, and Bellflower really runs, it's right next to East Compton, all right? So we would go to Bellflower. So here, let me show you on the map right here. So you can get kind of a view and you can see. See the red dot right there? The red dot right there is Paramount Boulevard and Alondra Boulevard. Then you see you have East Compton and then you have Bellflower. So you have East Compton here, which has a lot of, like I said, the South Side Crips are over here. It's like Southeast Compton. Mont Piru, I believe, was Northeast Compton. Well, you have Alondra and you have the corner of Paramount, all right? Now, I was over there at a party, and at that time, this was 2018, but the start of it. It was right after New Year's Eve or New Year's, and I was 19 years old. So I was at a party, and over in there in that area, you have a lot of, how you want to say, mixture of gang culture. Not only do you have a Crip territory over there of Gundry Crips, and you have a Piru territory over there, but you also have a Mexican gang territory over there as well. You have Serranos and whatever sets fall under their Serranos. Serranos means Southerners. Well, I was at a party one time, and at the party, Orlando shows up. He's at the party too. Now, I didn't know who he was. First time I ever met the guy, you know, I didn't know who he was, but he comes to the party. Now, he walks in there and all of a sudden there's whispering. That's Baby Lane, that's Baby Lane. Now, I know who Baby Lane was because Baby Lane on the streets, the name on the streets was saying that he was responsible for what happened to Pac. And the reason why the name on the street was going down is because before that even took place, people knew exactly what happened at the Lakewood Mall of him snatching the death row chain or getting into it with Trey. So his name was already floating around the streets in certain scenes as, hey, that's Baby Lane. Baby Lane ain't nothing to play with. I didn't really talk to the guy or anything like that. Hey, what's up? How you doing? Such and such, whatever. And I, kept it moving, doing whatever I want to do. Now, this was, I want to say, maybe around February, March. Yeah, February, March. I'm not sure. And then he ends up passing away. All right. Not too far from where I saw him or met him at the car wash off Alondra Boulevard. Now, the first day of the trial has started today. And we already have witnesses, okay, that has testified. So far, the witnesses that have testified, so far as of today, they are Gary Dale. Now, Gary Dale was a former Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department officer who pulled over Tupac Shakur and Suge Knight just hours before the shooting took place. He also rode in an ambulance with Tupac, recalling that when he asked the rapper who shot him, Shakur definitely replied with, "No, we'll take care of it." So there's a couple statements of Tupac's last words. There's another cop that says something too. I'm wondering, he probably is going to take the stand. I think it was Greg Kading, I think. He did a few interviews with Vlad. Now, then you also have Ingrid Stokes, a witness who was driving in a car ahead of Suge and Shakur on the night of the 1996 drive-by shooting. She testified about noticing a suspicious vehicle trying to get ahead of them before hearing the gunshots ring out. Now, Ingrid Stokes was like a fan, and she just noticed Tupac was in the car and I guess was like, "Hey, come with me to the party." That's what Pac said, and started following him. Then you have Brent Becker, a retired homicide detective with Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. He provided extensive testimony about the early hurdles of the investigation and his communication with Los Angeles detectives regarding related cases. Then you had Fred Miller, a retired Los Angeles Police Department homicide detective who provided video testimony concerning a separate investigation into what happened with Christopher Wallace, Notorious B.I.G., Biggie, because he lost his life too right after Tupac. He testified about finding a Polaroid photo containing Duane Davis and Orlando Anderson during a vehicle search. Now, they had the opening arguments today. Prosecution called the 1996 act as an act of revenge, saying Davis showed anger at Tupac for years. Key detail, they are not claiming Davis pulled the trigger. They're arguing he orchestrated it. Davis, remember, is Keefe D. So they're saying he's the one that put it all together. Because remember, I'm saying so allegedly Keefe D handed the gun off in retaliation for the assault on his nephew, Orlando Anderson, at MGM Grand. And that's where the initial brawl took place of the video of him getting jumped. But remember, I told you before that even happened, there was an altercation at Lakewood Mall in California in a Foot Locker. Now, the defense attorney, Michael, leaning on the 30-year gap. The evidence has gone cold. It's stale now, and they're framing the case around corrupt law enforcement, unreliable informants, and changing witness statements from the mid-1990s underworld. And what he's saying is you had confidential informants, okay, at this time, who was snitching on Keefe D, who's Davis, because Davis was a well-known drug dealer, snitching on him, switching up their stories, and also informants who were switching stories on other individuals that were involved. So at this time, these informants who are confidential, which we can't name them because they're confidential, right? You have to think about this. Confidential informants, usually in the gang world, the drug world, are also doing illegal activities themselves. So a lot of times this is how they become a confidential informant. They're on the corner, they're selling, doing what they're doing. They get caught up. Police convince them to be a confidential informant. So that way their charges go away. And this is how the bigger fish, get told on. So they actually have a motive to want to tell on somebody. 4 witnesses testified day one. The officer who pulled over Suge Knight and Tupac the night of the shooting, and a woman in the car ahead of them when it happened. Tupac's sister was in the courtroom. Davis's own words, whose Keefe D are already being used against him. Prosecutors played his recorded interviews, which we're going to get into. A 40-minute LAPD Biggie investigation audio plus a 2008 task force interview. In his book, he admitted he's saying because they promised they would not prosecute him. Now, here is the big thing, guys, which they're really not going to mention, which they actually did mention a little bit of this. They mentioned the name Zip, Eric Zip, all right? Now, he's from Harlem. Now, you're probably like, how's this guy getting involved? Eric Zip was friends with Sean Combs, Diddy, P. Diddy, whatever you want to call him, Mr. Freak off jail right now. So these two were friends. Now, allegedly, this is what happened. This is the rumorville of what happened, okay? Now, I told you about the backstory of the fight at Lakewood Mall, the fight at MGM, and allegedly this is what led up to it. But before all that, Eric Zip allegedly had a conversation with Sean Combs. And then allegedly, Sean Combs said, hey, I got to get rid of these people. I got to get rid of Pop. He is a thorn in my side. Because remember, they were beefing at the time. Death Row Records and Bad Boy. The face of Death Row at that time was Tupac, and the face of Bad Boy was Biggie. So he's saying, I got to get rid of them. And the offer was he would cut a check. Now, I don't remember how much the money was. You guys let me know below. I don't remember the amount, but it was a big amount. I don't remember if it was $250K or $1 million. Might have been $1 million. I don't remember. But I will cut a check. I will pay you to get rid of him for me. Now, Eric Zip is from Harlem. But that night, now, in Keefe D's memoir, Compton Street Legend, which we're going to get into. Now, he claims Combs asked him to handle a couple of problems, all right? Suge Knight and Tupac, for $1 million bounty. Combs called it nonsense because he's denied it and has never been charged in his case and is listed as a potential witness, all right?
In the mid-1990s, those 10 square miles were occupied by over 30 gangs claiming its territory. And important to this case, there are 2 gangs, Mob Piru and the Southside Compton groups. Let's talk a little bit about the Mob Piru. The Mob Piru is a group that associated with the color red. And you'll hear that Suge Knight, the person who was driving Tupac Shakur that night, grew up in the neighborhood of Mob Piru. But by the mid-1990s, he'd become a very successful CEO of the record label Death Row Records. But despite, or maybe because of where he came from, you'll hear that Suge Knight continued to employ Mob Piru gang members as part of Death Row. They would act as unofficial security, and other times they would engage in, let's call them other acts, on behalf of Suge Knight.
Now, the way it supposedly worked was, and like I said, we really don't know because Combs is not there in trial, so I don't know if they have enough evidence. And the one person who probably could put him there is no longer with us as well. Eric Zip allegedly handed the weapon to Keefe D, the same weapon that was used to take out Tupac, all right? So Eric Zip allegedly gave Keefe D, Mr. Davis, the weapon. Keefe D took that, had it with him in the car, and then handed the weapon to either Orlando or DeAndre that was in the back seat. But originally, the weapon allegedly came from Eric Zip. Now, I don't know how he got the weapon, where he brought it from, because remember, he's originally from Harlem. And to this day, nobody really knows, was he at the club 662 waiting? Where exactly was Eric Zip at when the Tupac shooting happened. Now, after Tupac died, Eric Zip opened up a club in Harlem. Now, let me read to you this rumor right here. Hip-hop lore figures like T.K. Kirkland have repeated unproven street rumors alleging that music mogul Sean Diddy Combs gave Eric Von Zip Martin money around the time of Tupac Shakur's September 1996 death, and that Zip used it to open his nightclub rather than passing it along. Law enforcement, such as former LAPD detective Greg Caden, investigated ties between Diddy, Zip, and Duane Keefe D. Davis, but no evidence has ever officially tied the club's financing or opening to the Tupac's situation, and no charges of that nature were ever brought. The club, Zip Code, operated as a prominent neighborhood lounge and staple of Harlem nightlife, drawing high-profile visitors and celebrities such as Stevie Wonder and Mike Tyson into the 2000s. Now, Eric Von Zip, okay, passed away from cancer on August 27, 2012. So he's passed away too. So he can't say anything because he's gone. But allegedly he took this money, and instead of giving the money to Keefe D and whoever else was involved, this is what allegedly happened, is he took the money and opened up a club. Now, do we know this happened for a fact? We still don't. We don't know. We don't know if Sean Diddy wrote a check. We don't know if Eric Von Martin took a check from Diddy. We don't know if we don't know, all right? Now, the whole reason why Keefe D is even on trial right now in the first place is his own fault, guys. It's his own fault. Now, remember I told you about the confidential informants? Keefe D got into trouble, got snitched on, ratted on, whatever you want to call it, for selling narcotics. He was being watched, all right? So they were watching him. So he was looking at a lot of time. So what they did was they brought him in to an investigation. Now they knew that he was involved with what happened to Tupac, okay? So they used that against him. They had the leverage, Keefe D didn't. This happens a lot, guys. It happens a lot. Especially if they have leverage on you because, hey, we've been watching you for years and you can go to prison for life, whatever, right? Or tell us about this. So what they did was they offered him a deal. They offered him what is called Queen for a Day. Now, Queen for a Day is a proffer agreement. Often called Queen for a Day agreement is a written contract between a prosecutor and a person under criminal investigation, unless the person share information about a crime. In exchange, the prosecutor agrees not to use those specific statements directly against him in a future trial. A proffer agreement is totally different than immunity, all right? If you get offered immunity, usually that means that's forever until you die. All right, they cannot prosecute you. Proffer agreement is the reason why they call it Queen for a Day. You're allowed to tell everything that happened to the prosecution for that day, that moment of time, or however long it takes as you're sitting in front of them on that desk or that interrogation room. Once you leave that room and they let you go back out into the streets, you are supposed to keep your mouth shut and you are no longer allowed to say anything about that case. And in return, they promise not to prosecute you. Well, when they hauled in Keefe D, they gave him a proffer agreement, not immunity. So Keefe D afterwards thought it was a good idea to start writing books, going on interviews, and then telling people about, hey, yeah, I was in the car. I was the one in the passenger seat. I handed the gun to Orlando Anderson. Oh yeah, and by the way, I got the gun from Eric Zip from Harlem. And you guys get it? So he wrote a book. Then he went on a mad run of interviews to promote the book. So people, that are interviewing him read the book and they're asking him questions. Now Keefe D is on tape talking about what happened. So of course these interviews go viral. Law enforcement sees these interviews. So what do you think they're going to do? Oh wait, Keefe D is now snitching on himself in public. Writing a book, it's in black and white. We have all these interviews of him snitching on himself. He knows what happened. The case is not closed. The case is technically still open. We didn't give him immunity. We gave him a proffer agreement. Book him, Daniel. Take him to jail. That is why Keefe D is on trial right now for what's going on. Now, like I said, this is day one of the trial. So I'm going to be keeping a close eye on the trial. Some days I'm probably going to go live to show you guys the trial too, if you want to stay tuned to my channel and watch it, because it is being streamed. And hey, let me know what you guys think below. So if you didn't know what was going on with the trial, or you didn't, you had no clue what this was, hopefully this video helped you, all right? Please like and subscribe. And if I missed anything, because I was trying to make this kind of short and sweet, just for a recap of day one and what led up to this, just in case there's anybody out there that does not know, because I'm pretty sure there's somebody that does not know what's going on and how this all started. If you know a lot more, you're welcome to comment below and fill in the blanks that I might have left out. Please comment below, like and subscribe. Join the membership if you can. And thank you to the newest members of the channel. I really appreciate that, guys. Thank you so much. You're helping me keep this channel alive and helping to where I can make this channel go full time. Hey, this is my second video I done pumped out today. Usually you guys know I only do one video. So thank you guys so much. Like and subscribe. Please take care of one another. Oh, go to the Facebook. Like Fugitive TV, okay? Not only that, I have an X account. I hardly ever, I'm always on X looking at information. But please follow Fugitive TV on X too, all right? Do what you can. So please, next time, guys, take care. Love one another. Look out at your surroundings. Watch your surroundings. Until next time, this is Fugitive TV, and I am out.